we don't have any obits this week, but we kind of do. There was an assassination at Disney.
Yeah, well,
there was a very Shakespearean assassination. So, for those who may not follow this stuff, Peter Rice has been for decades one of the most beloved and respected executives in all of Hollywood. Peter Rice was the guy who single-handedly built Fox Searchlight. And if you like the brand of Fox Searchlight, now just Searchlight, he was stolen away by Disney, and he's been running all kinds of TVs, like all of television over at Disney for a number of years. And then, of course, they got Searchlight back. So a lot of us thought, oh, perfect, they've now Peter Rice and Searchlight are together again, and the co-heads of Searchlight who replaced Peter, they just left. So I was thinking, what a great time to let him put his mark on the company again. But the other thing is, Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, is incredibly embattled as people. If you pay attention to the news, you know that Chapek he's under siege with the whole Florida thing, and DeSantis.
Contract is up in February.
And they've only had two other CEOs over like the last 30 years. Eisner and Iger lasted a long time. Chapek sees himself as he was hired by Eisner and he was appointed the heir apparent by Iger. So he has a connection to both of them, and it behooves him. He's a Parks guy, though. He's not a talent and movies guy. And so all that direct-to-streaming stuff got him off on a bad foot with talent. He's made changes in the parks that a lot of people don't like. Like now you've got to pay extra to go on certain rides, and you got to pay extra to get your what used to be the Fast Pass. And there are all of these things that just people are not happy with.
Not to mention the business down in Florida. We got into it. He's been into it with the people in Florida for a long time on a lot of things, but this most recent one,
he got himself on the wrong side somehow of all political parties, of his own employees, of parents, of politicians, and he somehow he's just not balancing all these things. And people started saying, Peter Rice would be a great choice for the next CEO. Well, apparently Bob Chapek reads those news stories too. Yeah. Because he called Peter Rice into his office and said, "You're fired," and let him go. And apparently Peter Rice was quote unquote blindsided by it. Though Peter Rice's, right arm woman, she's been appointed to take his place. I'm sure there are no hard feelings. Everybody knows how this goes, but it is Shakespearean. And the question is, what is this bode for Disney, who just had another movie censored in Saudi Arabia?
Well, we should note that right after he fired Rice, the Disney board issued a support for Chapek. Now they didn't renew his contract. If you were in good stead in positions like that, if you are in good stead, your contract usually gets renewed almost 2 years before the current contract is up. There are extensions and these things. None of that has happened. And his contract is up in February. Look, we've been around a long time. I've seen this stuff go down. I think the king is dead, dude. I kind of do too. What's interesting here is there are two other details that I find kind of interesting. One is that when Eisner was booted, that was largely orchestrated through board member Roy Disney, the son of co-founder Roy Disney, nephew of Walt, the last member of the Disney family to swing a big bat with the company. So it was still kind of a family company at the time, publicly owned, but you had a Disney that everybody respected, and he was on the board, and he, there was even a spat, dude. Back when I was doing the podcast with Mark, we used to get the DVDs, the Disney, the tins of the classic Disney cartoons and TV shows, and the official collector's tins with the thing. It was a big marketing thing. Yeah. But they had a little band on it. There's a little blue, merchandising band that said, approved by or sanctioned by, signed off, and a little Roy Disney signature. And when before Eisner got booted and he was having his spat with Roy Disney's name and signature briefly disappeared from the marketing. It was so petty. But at the same time,
Roy Disney's not there. So now this is the, you know, Chapek is the first guy who has stepped into this position without some kind of having to sort of kiss the ring of the Disney family in some regard.
Yeah, although Abigail, who's not a part of the company in any way, shape, or form, but makes all these movies and really hates the remuneration, Abigail's constantly kicking him in the company. She's, you know, it's a different kind of Disney involvement.
But Abigail also hates her dad.
Yeah, so that's a whole different thing. But there she is.
It's a different thing. Yeah, Abigail being Roy's daughter, and Abigail's, you know, everything. It's a rebellious kid thing. Everything Roy was, Abigail is not. Everything Abigail is, Roy was not. Roy was a conservative Republican. Abigail is an activist Democrat. You know, there's a whole thing going on. It's a family thing. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah,
but whatever. So I find the absence of a Disney mediating figure interesting. But what I also find interesting is that Chapek came in basically under COVID, you know, so he was dealt a bad hand to begin with. And I cut him a lot of slack for that. You know, you've got to sort of say, like, okay, give the guy, you know, a minute. I've been as critical as anybody else of some of his moves, but give him a minute to have, you know, like a normal circumstance to sort of show what he can do. I think that's what the board is looking at. They're saying, yeah, we get it, COVID and, you know, first time jitters and whatever other things. You know, we're not gonna. It's not good for the stock. But Disney stock is down to like a 20-year low or something like that. I mean, it's taking a beating. Now everything's taking a beating right now.
Yeah, at the moment, but outside of that.
But outside of that, I think, you know, they want to see, what do you do if you are a CEO? You still have to perform. You got to make choices. You got to make. You got to handle the rough situations. So if he can't handle, you know, this is the test. Can he handle the current moment? Can he handle it up until his contract renewal is ready in March? And they may just keep everybody waiting. They may just keep everybody sitting on pins and needles until, like, you know, February 1. And, you know, February 1 rolls around. They may say, all right, Bob, you pulled it together. You know, you faced the stampede. You stood your ground. You corralled them. You brought the doggies in for the long run to Oklahoma. I'm not a cattle farmer. I can't use these analogies, but you get the analogy. You herded them, and you roped them, and you brought them in. So
here's the reality, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to be real straightforward. Neither Bob Chapek or Boris Johnson are going to be in office in February. they're both going to be on a boat someplace, going to film festivals. They're both out there. It's literally the exact same circumstance, and they're both out. They're both done. Mr. Rice, all he has to do is keep his powder dry. The issue is, and this is why Bob put what's her name, Diane Waldron, Diane, right? Yeah. This is why he chose her. Because it makes it impossible for Tim Rice to get that position anytime soon. Because when he gets stabbed out, and he will be,
Peter Rice.
Peter Rice, thank you.
Yep.
When he gets stabbed out, and he will be, there's no way the board is going to replace her with Peter Rice.
That's true.
They're very good friends. It would be now you have yet a third Shakespearean ridiculous. Well, no matter how much they want Rice, they can't have him because I stuck a poison pill in your spot.
I think Rice is going to go to Discovery Warner.
Yeah,
and there were rumors that was where he was headed. He put an end to those, but I think that's when he still had a career at Disney. So I think, you know, he doesn't want to have to answer directly to he doesn't like the chain of command and having to answer directly to the CEO at Warner. But he may have a second thought about that, because he's look, Peter Rice is an amazing executive. And what makes him so good is he's an old school executive who has the two things that people who come to Hollywood from out of town do not have. If you come here from Wall Street, or you come here from PepsiCo, or you know, from the NBA or the NHL or some other, if you come here from any other business or any other industry or any other company, you lack two things. Number one, you got to have talent relationships. And number two, you got to have taste. You got to sort of know the business and love movies and be able to say, there's no business reason to approve that movie. It really isn't, but I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to greenlight it.
Yeah. This kid's going to be great.
That's it.
Exactly.
Taste and the two T's, taste and talent relationships. So Peter Rice had both of those, still does, may have them to a greater degree than anybody in Hollywood. Chapek doesn't have either of them. That's his drawback.
He said he was a Parks guy.
He's a Parks guy.
He is a Parks guy.
He is a Parks guy. And frankly, I mean, people have to remember Disney is, I can bring all this stuff up, but I'll come back and I'll say there's nothing wrong with being a Parks guy because Disney is a Parks company.
Yeah.
I mean, they make more consistent money more regularly off of the parks than they do off anything else. A movie may flop or not, but pretty much, X number of people are going to go to Disneyland and Disney World on any given day.
Yeah.
So, you need somebody that knows that business too.
Not as sexy though. Movies are sexy. Business is sexy. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna read some listener mail. We haven't read this in a long time because I hate the pandemic is not exactly a great way to read on the show. But listen, we've gotten some interesting things. Frank Lopes says, "Morning gods, have a brief question I was hoping you could answer. I have been trying to stream 13 Assassins through a host of different streaming platforms, but have noticed that the default state of the movie is to have subtitles automatically displayed over the entire film. They are not a separate element controlled by the language settings and cannot be turned off. That wouldn't be such a big deal as I do need them, but they run across the screen and obscure many objects captured on film. Does the Blu-ray version also do this as well? I'm dying to watch this movie again and will buy, but only if this feature is not present on the film. Also, why would anyone do this in the first place? It disrupts the viewing experience and contaminates the filmmaker's vision. It seems a bizarre choice." The subtitles are different in the streaming version than they are on the Blu-ray. So I can't address whether or not the Blu-ray will obviously be similarly distracting to him. But here's the thing. The streaming platforms all use elements that have been delivered to them by the studios. But what's really interesting is you will often wonder, why are the subtitles different? Because the subtitles come on a track. So they're not burned in, and it's not a font choice that comes with it. You get this on basically a text file is what it is. And it's a text file that you drop into your software that runs your streaming site. And based on the settings that the streaming site has, whether it's Amazon or Vudu or, Movies Anywhere, whatever it is, Infinity X, they all sort of have their own subtitle settings and protocols. And it's going to look different. So sometimes it's a matter of, that's why Movies Anywhere is nice, because Movies Anywhere gets you access at all these different places, at Apple and at Vudu and at Fandango. And some of these places are, have not received their 4K streams yet from the studios. Some places you'll just get an HD stream. Some you'll get a 4K. So you're not going to get the same experience at every single site. But if you go with Movies Anywhere and you can access it every site, you can kind of shop around and see who's got the best version of it for whatever movie you want to watch. But I sympathize. It's a little bit of the Wild West out there right now with that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. Tim, I love this right here. This I absolutely love. So Billy Milby, longtime listener, wrote us a while back about a particular situation, trying to save an old theater.
Oh, yeah.
And we have an update on that. Here is the update. Greetings, DigiGods. Maybe this breaks some record for a follow-up email. Back in 2011 or so, I emailed a theater in Georgia that was in a small town that had been shut down since around 1975. Apparently not long after Lash LaRue came and cracked his whip over a live audience for some event, or so I'm told, I drove past it constantly and always wished someone would do something with it. I was only 24. Billy, you're giving your age away.
Oh, yeah.
But figured if I don't, no one will. After some digging around and forming of alliances, it turns out it was on the verge of repossession and demolition. After getting some actual adults behind me, one of them was a wealthy, community-minded person associated with the local arts association. He stepped up and actually bought it and held it while I spearheaded the effort to form a 501c3. Unfortunately, it took over 2 years to get that status, and by then the whole thing somewhat fell on its face and lost all momentum. Plus, my first kid came and I was in a different life phase. After some deliberation and in effort to keep it afloat in the meantime, it was turned into a makeshift antique market. But yada, 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 after one more change of hands over the pandemic, I can report that my wife and I took our kids to a live Christmas production in the theater this past December, and it felt amazing to think I played a small part in keeping it from being knocked down. It's not a movie theater with the current owner's plans, but you never know down the road. A dinner theater, events venue, and place for live productions is not half bad in my book. You can look up the Muse Theater in Perry if any of you or in the audience are around. Billy Milby. So happy ending.
Fantastic.
And you know, it's okay if it's not a movie theater, as long as it's a theater, as long as people can congregate there. You know, there are a few of those here in LA that were movie theaters and became live venues. The Pantages being the most famous. I mean, it's where all the big live Broadway productions and touring productions go in LA. They go to the Pantages. That was originally a movie theater.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, that's fantastic. That's a great story. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's lovely, lovely, lovely story. There we go. Good stuff. Very, very happy to read all of that. We'll have, read a few more in the next few weeks. Go ahead and email us if you want. gods@digigods.com, gods@cinegods.com. We do check those emails. Tim, let's get into DVDs and Blu-rays.
All right, let's do it.
I'll got a few things backlogged here that I should dig through and just put on people's radar. Going to start with some Shout Factory, Scream Factory stuff. The first one is Wes Craven, the late Wes Craven, did a movie called Cursed, which never really got a ton of traction. Christina Ricci's in it. Along with a shockingly young Jesse Eisenberg. I forget how young he once was. Joshua Jackson, that whole kind of crowd from that moment. But written by Ken Williamson, not written by Wes, but directed by Wes, and that's a pretty good pairing. So it's not, I wouldn't call it one of the best Wes Craven things, but for a moment, for that particular moment, kind of in the early aughts, the early 2000s. It was a great collection of talent. It was all those young up and coming kids, they're now teenagers, and it was Craven, it was Williamson. It was a little bit in the Scream moment, but I like it. And yeah, the idea is, there's a werewolf running around Los Angeles. Who cares? It's the MacGuffin. It's all, it could have been a vampire, it could have been an alien, it didn't matter. But I actually think this movie's got a lot worth rediscovering at this point in time. And the werewolf effects are really, really cool.
Wes, let me just say about Wes, right? Because sometimes we forget what a fantastic career Wes had. First of all, Wes was a professor before picking up the camera. I mean, he was always a filmmaker, but he was a professor. And that like a whole life. So a lot of folks, if you do that and you do that your whole life and you do it well, that's fine and dandy. So then Wes becomes this really sort of iconic filmmaker in the early 70s. All of those films, right? And then Wes reinvents himself again in the 90s. In the early 2000s. Who would have thought that the Scream films and everything that spun off from those films, again, all the way back to Wes, he did that. And he's still hanging around. This is 2005, Christina Ricci and all these guys. And he's, doing sort of interesting things late into his career. So there's a whole lot, that all the boys at Bloom, owe a whole lot to Wes Craven. I think
they do. The whole Blumhouse, that whole operation.
They owe a whole lot to Wes Craven. So anyway, fantastic. Wes Craven, man.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I mean, this was a Miramax Dimension thing. You're going to have to deal with Harvey Weinstein having his name on this, but that's fine. There are two discs, two different cuts: the theatrical cut, the unrated cut, which is a little bit more raw. Beautiful transfer, behind the scenes stuff on the makeup effects, and there's a great commentary from from Derek Mears, the actor, and visual makeup effects supervisor Greg Nicotero. A lot of really that's on the unrated cut. So I mean, it's worth rediscovering, especially for Wes Craven fans.
Yeah.
We've got David Bowie in Just a Gigolo, also from Shout Factory. This is a very, very strange blast from the past. This is a 1978 movie. a period film with Bowie playing something of a playboy during World War One. He's like a Prussian playboy during World War One. And this is a kind of movie that they made predominantly in the 70s, and they were usually German. This one's not. No. But they deal with usually they were made by Fassbender, to be honest. Talking about the decadence of a society in decline, which has, survived through it has fought to survive, and now it finds itself in decline, and wondering what were we fighting for to begin with. It's that kind of a thing going on.
Although Marlena is, I think this is
Marlena Dietrich. It was her final role.
So there's yours. Yeah.
It was her last role. That's right. It was her last role with David Bowie. There's a bit of trivia. What was name the actress who had her last role opposite David Bowie? Marlena Dietrich and David Bowie is not a pairing I would ever normally think of. Right?
First of all, how you going to tell the difference between them on the screen?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of
yeah. Anyway, so but yeah, it's quite a pairing. It's quite an interesting film. Directed by David Hemmings, of all people. And I think it's dated. It definitely looks like it's era, but it is what it is. It's worth also worth rediscovering. Jim Carrey's Liar Liar is out from Shout Select. I'm sorry, I still love this movie. I think this is just classic Jim Carrey. It's clearly, this is the 25th anniversary edition. This movie is so clearly designed for Jim Carrey to just do his shtick.
Yeah.
But come on. Yeah. It's fun, right?
Oh, yeah. You know what I love about that movie? Because it is everything you said, that era, 1997, I think, Jim Carrey. This movie, as funny as it is insanely poignant.
Yeah, it's a Tom Shadyac movie.
Yeah, insanely poignant. Very, this is before Tom dropped out and went on to do a whole bunch. Him and Tom did all that stuff. You get Ace and all that crap. But this is just as opposed to Ace, which is not remotely poignant, or Dumb and Dumber, which is also not remotely poignant.
Tim,
this is poignant.
Tim, there were a whole bunch of movies made around about the late 90s, and this is 97. There were a whole bunch of them, and they all. I remember noticing this at the time. Liar Liar, Jingle All the Way with Arnold, Hook with Robin Williams, right? And you can go right down the line. There are a whole bunch of them, and every one of these movies basically is the same story as Mary Poppins. They're all about dads who neglect their kids because of work, and then through some event, whether it's the intercession of a supernatural Mary Poppins or a curse that makes you prevents you, that forces you to say the truth, or you're a grown Peter Pan, or whatever it is, Arnold and Jingle All the Way. I got to find my kid's toy. It's Christmas Eve and I missed out. Yeah, they're all about dads who are being punished for neglecting their kids and who have to learn the lesson. Your kids have to come first. All these movies, it's Mr. Banks. They're all variations on Mr. Banks from Mary Poppins. And I couldn't help but think, this is the catharsis for all of those agents and those executives and those producers who are sitting there, doing movie stuff at 6 p.m. and then realizing, crap, I just missed my daughter's ballet recital, or, I missed my son's hockey game, or whatever it is. Yeah. And they feel guilty. So they make this movie so they don't feel guilty.
Yeah, and they can take your kids to it. They can take your kids to the premiere.
But in any case, Liar Liar, lots of fun. Really, really a great movie. And I'm glad that it's on Blu-ray from Shout. Got a lot of extras on it, looking back stuff. There's a deleted scene, some outtakes. Shadyac does a lovely commentary that touches on a lot of this stuff. And, it's not loaded with extras, but it's a good movie to have. It's a lot of fun to have.
Love that movie.
I got a couple others here from some great Scream Factory-ish stuff. So these are all collector's editions from Scream Factory. They are all movies you have probably never heard of, but if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, it's well worth discovering. The Vampire Lovers, Paranoiac, Night Creatures, and Nightmare. So these are all kind of classic hammery things. The ones that are
kind of early 70s, late 60s kind of business.
Yeah, all kind of in that that those garish colors, especially in Vampire Lovers and Night Creatures. Those are the ones that really light it up. both of these were Hammer films. And these are the ones I want to just recommend the most. Vampire Lovers and Night Creatures. A lot of fun. Tons and tons of extras on here. They're brand new scans. It's a 2K scan that they use as a basis for Night Creatures, 4K scan for Vampire Lovers. But you get all kinds of great film historian insight on, especially on Vampire Lovers, which is just, it's so beautifully shot, and it's such a cheesy film, and it's just got so much like, it's just, it feels so Dark Shadows. It just does.
Is Night Creatures to Peter Cushing?
Yes.
Because it had a different name.
No, it is. He plays a reverend in it. It's hilarious. It's a little bit of an unusual turn for him. It's very Crucible. It's very Crucible. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But that one also has a great bunch of little extras. Fewer than the others. And then stick around and go with Paranoiac and Nightmare as well. Those are also really super fun. Yeah. Paranoiac really creeps me out. I got to be honest. Paranoiac has one of the best, the creepiest performances that Oliver Reed has ever put on film. And his Bill Sykes in Oliver creeped me out as a kid. Like, he really scared the daylights out of me. But man, is he just, he's just, I don't know, man. He's it's one of those movies. This is directed by Freddie Francis, also a Hammer film. And Freddie Francis, of course, would go on to, he was a great DP as well. He shot the Eleventh Man. So, has his particularly weird sensibilities all over this thing. But, it's really, this is an unusual kind of a Hammer film. It's much more focused on psychological horror. It's much more of a slasher film, and it's beautifully shot and really, really creepy. And I'd totally recommend it. It's got a few extras on it. Only an audio commentary with film historian Bruce Hallenbeck and like a featurette, and then of course Nightmare, which is also a Freddie Francis film, beloved by people who follow the Freddie Francis Hammer stuff, but largely forgotten. And that's because it doesn't have a hugely popular cast. It doesn't have, Peter Cushing or any of the usual standbys. David Knight, Moira Redmond, Jenny Linden. That's your cast. Those people didn't really last very long, but it's a good, solid, tight little, again, kind of, psychological horror thing. It deals with mental illness, and you can tell it's kind of positioned in the Hitchcock vein. It's sort of in that Psycho moment, so it's borrowing a little bit from all of that. But asylums and mental illness. But it's really, really worth it's worth a look if you want to go a little bit deeper into the canon, or the Hammer canon. What am I saying? The Hammer canon. So that's all fine. Let me hit the arrows, and then we'll jump into something else.
Yeah. Freddie. I interviewed Freddie on he was the cinematographer on Cape Fear.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I interviewed him. Junket, one of those Junket interviews. Freddie Francis. That was a great. He was a cinematographer on a bunch of really cool stuff. But Cape Fear, Glory. But he was really cool.
He's a terrific
wonderful
director
teacher
and DP.
too. Yeah,
great teacher. Yeah. So, very special edition from Arrow on Yokai Monsters came out some time ago. They have now, that was like a gift set. So now they've released the regular version of it, the Yokai Monsters collection, which everybody can afford. And it includes 100 Monsters, Spook Warfare, along with Ghosts and the Great Yokai War. That's all on this 3-disc set. Basically pretty much the same stuff in the previous one, just a more conventional box set. This is I think we talked about this the first time. Yeah. I mean, it's a trilogy of Japanese movies that are, it's a genre thing. It's Japanese ghost stories and mysticism, and it has a following. If you're not really, really into this stuff, you might want to just do a little bit of research, because it's, like, I love Kwai-Dan. I highly recommend Kwai-Dan as one of the greatest films ever made. But again, Japanese ghost stories and mysticism, not everybody's.
It's very traditional Japanese
monsters and spirits and stuff. It's not, Godzilla.
So, yeah, exactly. So we got 2 amazing box sets of Claude Chabrol movies from Arrow here. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, I am a Claude Chabrol nut. I've done a gazillion Claude Chabrol commentaries back when, a bunch of them were released by a different company. I sat in a booth with Andy Klein and FX Feeney for like 3 straight days just doing commentaries for those Claude Chabrol movies. I am sorry that those commentaries are somewhere in the ether now, because I would love to attach some of them to some of these. Yeah. And I've done a few recently with Andy as well, including for Nightcap and The Color of Lies, and our commentaries are not here because those were for Cohen.
Oh yeah.
So there are different commentaries here. I have to say, not as good as ours.
Of course not.
Not as good as ours, but they're fine. They're fine. It's okay. Barry Forshaw does and Sean Hogan do the commentary on The Color of Lies. Not as good as ours, but it's fine. They also do it on The Swindle. These are all things that Andy and I did recently. But anyway, the 2 sets include The Swindle, Color of Lies, Nightcap, and The Flower of Evil on one set. And then the other one is Cop au Vin, Inspector Lavardin. I also did those 2 commentaries with Andy, by the way. And then Madame Bovary, Betty, and Torment, otherwise known as L'Enfer. I think I did that one with Andy too. Man, I've done so much Chabrol. I'm looking at this. I'm like, Arrow, you could have called. You could have just asked Cohen for their commentaries.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. It's a competition.
It is indeed.
Yeah,
anyway, these are 2 great sets. Lies and Deceit is the second one. Twisting the Knife is the other one. 5 films by Claude Chabrol, 4 films by Claude Chabrol. But Arrow has done a beautiful job. I'm going to pick on them a little bit, and I'm still recommending the Cohen versions of these. But my goodness, they really did get some wonderful, wonderful stuff on here. For example, for Cop au Vin, they found a Claude Chabrol at the BFI interview where he talks to Ian Christie for an hour, all at the National Film Theater in 1994. It's a wonderful, wonderful discovery. There's some stuff from Swiss Television. There are even some select scene commentaries that they edited together from some things that Claude Chabrol previously said. It's very, very, it's very, very smart. They've really gone to the well to do that Criterion thing and get a lot of great extras in here. So, bravo.
There's a wicket, from a few years ago, doc on Chabrol, the anti-conformist.
Oh yeah.
You remember the one.
Yeah.
So, I recommend that. I don't know if it's got to be out on DVD by now. I'm sure it is.
I'm sure.
But wonderful companion piece for all that Chabrol. Founder, one of the founders, him and Rivette of the New Wave.
Absolutely. And then we've got a few. We got a couple of slashery things. One is Deadly Games, which is just a straight up vintage slasher film. Don't really need to know much about Deadly Games, but it's out from Arrow. And then Girls Night Out, Nite spelled Nite, because they're having fun. They're having so much fun. They got to spell it Nite. And that's also another one of these, the girls go out for a night of fun and then a lunatic tries to kill them. And there you go. So this is just basic kind of 80s era slasher stuff. It was a genre then. People like it. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
And then the last one is a really, really interesting movie that I'm not overly familiar with. To Sleep So As to Dream. This is a Japanese noir, I guess is the best way of doing it. And it was the debut film of Kaizu Hayashi. It's really, it's like, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, because there's a tradition in Japanese cinema that is very surreal. Mm-hmm. So Japan has sort of all the same genres that Hollywood had, largely because of the influence of Hollywood, but then it kind of puts its twist on them, right? It's a little bit of a spin. And
since it's Japanese, it's going to be weird.
Exactly. And
which this is.
And this is very, very weird. I mean, the idea is that I don't even know how to outline the plot. The actress is trapped in a movie, right? And these detectives are looking for her. but when I say trapped in a movie, I mean she's literally trapped in celluloid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of a Sherlock Jr. / Last Action Hero / what was the Woody Allen film?
Yellow Rose, Purple Rose.
Purple Rose of Cairo.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a little bit of that kind of a thing going on. And there's sort of no way to describe it unless you see it. You just have to watch it and realize that this is this is a tribute to movies in general, but a tribute to old Japanese cinema and a tribute to noir all at the same time, and to surrealism and mysticism.
Yeah.
It mixes up so many different things, and it's really odd and unusual and kind of cool and fascinating at the same time.
Well, the film you're talking about is from the middle '80s, but
it's from the '80s.
But it's set, or the things that occur are from the silent Japanese film era.
Yes.
So it's a lot of silent Japanese. Anyway, yeah. Great.
Yeah. So, and it's got apparently a ton of cameos in it. Not that I would know many of them. I mean, I recognize a few people, but it's really worth a discovery, and a ton of extras on here. So this is kind of, Arrow throws a Hail Mary every once in a while, just as Criterion does, and you gotta tip your hat to them. I mean, they found a ton of interesting things to put on here. Great commentary and interviews and featurettes, and a thing called Fragments from Japan's Lost Silent Heyday, which is all of these amazing scenes from silent Japanese movies that you've never seen before. It's really interesting. So check it out if you have a chance. To Sleep So As to Dream. Kind of film that doesn't get made anymore, and even then it only got made in Japan. You know what, Tim? I'm going to hit a few Warner Archive titles too before we move on to other things, because this will get us right back square with Warner Archive.
Yeah, because I'm going to bitch about some television.
Oh yeah, it's Judy Garland's 100th anniversary. Judy Garland's 100th birthday just came a few days ago, so we got a lot of wonderful Judy Garland stuff here to talk about. Judy Garland and Robert Walker in The Clock, a really sweet MGM movie from 1945. It's right at the end of the war, so this is kind of a one of those rah-rah movies. And Robert Walker is, of course, he's representing the everyman who is he's a GI. He's on a 2-day pass.
Yeah.
And who does he fall in love with? Judy Garland.
Yeah, but he's on a clock.
It's great. It's a great movie. It's beautiful. Then you got Ziegfeld Girl with Jimmy Stewart and Judy Garland, and Hedy Lamarr and Lana Turner. I mean, gosh, what an unbelievable bunch of talent. That's just tremendous. I almost want to scream. Directed by Robert Z. Leonard. It's your standard 1940s wartime escapism, and it's got Judy Garland and Jimmy Stewart, and I don't know how to tell you anything else. I mean, Hedy Lamarr and Lana Turner are just along for the ride. It's almost like there's too much talent in this movie for anybody. But wonderful Busby Berkeley musical numbers in it. And speaking of Busby Berkeley and Judy Garland, who had a very tempestuous relationship, there is For Me and My Gal, another wartime rah-rah movie. This was set during World War I. It's a true story of a husband and wife vaudevillian couple and their very tempestuous relationship and the things that transpired in World War I. They're together, they're not together, they're together, they're not together, and he, he's a coward, and then he has to go to war and prove that he's not a coward. It's a whole thing. It's all set in the world of vaudeville during World War I. Judy Garland is tremendous. A Gene Kelly in his very, very first film, directed by Busby Berkeley, who oddly enough did not do the musical numbers. He just directed it, but didn't do the musical numbers. But this may be the best film Busby Berkeley ever directed. It's certainly it shows Gene Kelly as the star he will become. He is unreal. And Judy Garland is keeping up with him in the dance numbers. That tells you something too.
Young Judy.
Absolutely tremendous.
Hedy Lamarr. Love talking about Hedy. Hedy was a genius. I have to say it. Every time her name is mentioned, I have to point out that Hedy Lamarr is an actual genius, bona fide genius. Radar, Hedy Lamarr. Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Yes.
The complications are Hedy Lamarr. That's Hedy.
I wouldn't be connected to talk to you right now if not for Hedy.
Yeah.
I'm connected through Wi-Fi. Yeah. And then the last three here, Robert Taylor, Sid Charisse, and Lee J. Cobb, wondering what he is doing in a movie with Robert Taylor and Sid Charisse in Party Girl, an MGM film that is kind of MGM in transition, I think might be a way of putting it. This is directed by Nicholas Ray. This is a 1950s era musical set in 1930s Chicago. It's, it's not the same musical that they were making. It's a little bit gaudier and more garish. It's the 1950s. The studio chiefs are heading in a different direction. They're moving on. They're retiring. Things are going corporate. So, and Nicholas Ray is not exactly a musical director. He did Rebel Without a Cause, but and had a rather interesting private life. You can Google that. Anyway, it's musical. It's mobsters. It's Sid Charisse being sexy, and I enjoy it. But it's a little bit different. It's MGM in transition for sure. Still really, really worth checking out. James Cagney and Captains of the Clouds. Pretty fantastic rah-rah movie, as long as we're talking about him. Again, wartime 1942. James Cagney doing his part to inspire everybody for the war effort. Right. And beautiful, beautiful Technicolor photography, which was not all that common in 1941. It's Alan Hale's in it, and it's got some fun moments. I mean, it's Michael Curtiz directed. I think was it the same year as Casablanca? I think he cranked them out at the same time.
Maybe 42.
Maybe the year before. I think this was the year before Casablanca. Yeah. I mean, Michael Curtiz. Those guys had no idea if they were cranking out crap or a masterpiece. No. Like, studio hands them a script, shoot this. Here's Humphrey, and go do something.
Make them fast.
And then we have The Wonderful World of Brothers Grimm, The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm, which was a George Powell production in Cinerama for MGM. There's a letterbox version and a Smilebox version. Letterbox version is on disc 1. Smilebox is on disc 2. I'm not going to get into the technological aspects of what constitutes the difference, but this is an unusual movie. It's trying to sort of move in on the Disney the thing that Disney had done with animation and fairy tales and all that stuff. Now this is live action and animation here. You get a lot of live action actors. You get some really interesting stop motion animation, kind of in that Rankin Bass-y way. Oddly enough, we spoke about Hammer earlier. This feels like a Hammer horror film in some regards.
I'm looking at the trailer right now, and folks should go look at the trailer because you see that odd framing because of the technology. That sort of concave or a convex sort of thing that happens when it's projected on a so it was meant to be projected in a very particular way. And so it's going to look weird. I think
it's going to look weird. It basically is going to turn your television into a curved screen. It's going to warp it a little bit because that's the only way that it will not look distorted. It was designed to be seen on a big, anyway. You'll understand when you see it.
Otherwise, everybody would look short and fat. This way, all
man, George Powell. This may be the most impressive cast George Powell ever pulled together. I mean, you've got Mimure, Russ Tamblyn, and Buddy Hackett, Terry Thomas, and Jim Backus, and
Barbara
Eden even shows up. They just load this thing. Lawrence Harvey. They load this up with people. And it's an unusual movie. It's from that legendary year of 1962, Lawrence of Arabia and all the rest. It is not Lawrence of Arabia. Don't expect that. But interesting two-disc edition here. Really a special release from the Warner Archives. All right. Let's move on to television. Tim, you want to unleash hell?
Well, again, I don't know why I say that. I just get buggy every time I see this MacGyver. I think we have the complete. What is it? Is it the complete run of MacGyver?
This is the complete 5-year new MacGyver run.
Yeah, the new MacGyver, of course.
The new MacGyver has run for 5 years. I feel like didn't they just announce this?
It's and that's what drives me crazy. First of all, I only ever got through 2 episodes of this MacGyver. Couldn't do it because I have this deep affection for Richard Dean Anderson. The original MacGyver. That's my guy. I love that guy. I love that show. And that show is on all the time, by the way. If you turn on regular over there broadcast television, anytime during any day, you got that original MacGyver, which is still a great show. So I could not commit to this. It blows me away that this show has been on for 5 seasons, but there it is, right there with this kid. What's his name? Lucas Till, I think it is. Yeah, Lucas Till. Yeah. Playing my character MacGyver, which drives me nuts. Richard Dean Anderson. MacGyver, that's Richard Dean, right?
Yeah.
I think I did the math. He's 75.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Because, after that great run, he was in that Stargate series for another
75 is the new 25.
75 is the new 25. He's still kicking it. Anyway, this series here, they put out the whole damn thing. Anything interesting with it that
no, not really. No? Not really. What I hate is that they talk about follow the thrilling adventures of 20-something Angus MacGyver. You have to tell us he's 20-something because people in their 20s won't watch somebody who's old ass 35.
Yeah, because the other MacGyver was in his 30s
for sure.
Yeah, and it wasn't a problem.
They want us to think this is a kid. Hey, if you're in your 20s, you can be clever too. It's so pandering. Anyway, I got a couple here from the History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
Great Escapes with Morgan Freeman, season 1.
Yeah,
I love this.
Yeah.
First of all, Morgan Freeman understands now that he does not have to leave his house in Mississippi and come to Hollywood for months on end and learn lines. No. He can just produce and host from home and stay in Mississippi and enjoy his retirement and still get paid a lot of money for a show that basically does recreations of Great Prison Escape.
Yeah.
And it's actually really interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
It's fascinating. I mean, you realize some of these, I almost feel guilty, like rooting for some of the prisoners, because there's a point with some of these, they are so clever. I'm like, you know what, dude, that was pretty brilliant. I almost feel like letting you get away with that one. Like if you can pull that off, you're free. You're free.
I'll tell you this. It depends on what they did to get themselves put in prison.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I root for bank robbers. If you could, hey, I don't really mind bank robbers. If you didn't kill anybody, you robbed the bank, you got caught. If you could pull off a prison break, who's that guy who jumped out of the airplane in the 70s? With the money.
That guy.
That dude, I'm still hoping that guy's around someplace. I don't know, whatever.
DB Cooper.
Yeah. But if you could pull off a gunless bank robbery and then escape from prison, any of those things never bother me. I have no idea why, but they don't. So good for them.
And then we also have 2 seasons of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch.
Which is so nutty that's a Ken Burns thing.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Ken Burns and UFOs.
I know.
No.
I know.
No. These things don't go together. But there they are.
And that whole Skinwalker Ranch thing is really creepy. I mean, it may be UFOs, might also be ghosts.
Yes, but all of that in Ken Burns. Because now I'm looking at baseball, I got a whole different feeling about it. Or the Civil War or whatever. I'm okay.
I know. But it's a mystery. Legitimately, the whole Skinwalker Ranch story, if you don't know it, it's worth watching. It's crazy and creepy as hell.
It is nuts. It is neither ghosts nor UFOs, but whatever. Go ahead.
So, dude, season 1 La Brea on Blu-ray. All right, take it.
That was just terrible. Just deeply bad. Stupid giant hole in the middle of our city, LA, by the La Brea tar pits, and in the hole, there's this whole other universe world with these really terrible CGI, not dinosaurs. Like not a single creature that they create actually represents an actual dinosaur that ever existed. It's worse than those Jurassic Park movies, which is another one out this week making all the fucking money. God, why won't they die? Anyway, whatever. I'm sorry.
I'll say this about La Brea. Here's what compels me about La Brea. I would love to have been in the room when that was pitched. Just want to say that.
Like, what? This is why I would just be a terrible executive. Because I would just ixnay so many, and this show's going to get renewed, and it's going to have another season, and everybody's going to get paid. And I would have been like, "This is retarded. Get out of my office."
So on DVD, we're already on to a second season, still with Paramount and CBS Studios of Why Women Kill, which I totally missed, and then this came, and I realized, oh, it's Mark Cherry. Yeah. So he's doing a Desperate Housewives thing again. He's still kind of in that mode.
a little bit. And, except now it's set in the 1940s so that everything feels a little bit more lascivious. But I don't know. I think this is kind of cheeky and clever and fun.
Yeah, like Lucy Liu walking around this series. I think it's,
yeah, Why Women Kill season 2. So I'm surprised it hasn't gotten a little bit more traction. I'm surprised I didn't know about it because I love Desperate Housewives, but we're in a different world now. It's streaming, not network. Let's see. We got the Harper. Did you ever watch the Harper House?
The animated. Yeah, from Paramount Plus. Yeah, that was kind of funny. With the chick that fed in Arkansas or whatever.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
Yeah, it feels a little King of the Hill-ish, little bit, right? A little sort of like, a little bit more grown up than King of the Hill, but kind of taking a little bit of the steam out of a certain archetypal Americana.
With also like Mom at the head of all kind of stuff, and Jason Lee. Anyway, it's got to
and the Harper House of the title is this house that they've inherited and they have to fix it up. But I mean, the idea of looking at class division, wrong side of the town, right side of the town, and a little town in Arkansas, kind of an unusual thing for an animated show to do. But it didn't last long. I mean, how many episodes of this thing were there? Like 4 or 5 episodes, I think, only. But it's it was risky. I mean, I'm glad they put it out on DVD so people can rediscover it, because I don't think anybody saw it the first time around. I sure didn't.
Well, I do know the great voices. The chick from Tatiana Maslany or whatever. Jason Lee. But I don't know. It's one of those kind of things. Yeah.
What other ones here, Tim, are you looking at? You looking at anything in particular you want to scream about?
Evil.
Okay.
And there's a new season from Robert and Michelle King. There's a new season running now. This series is interesting. It started in 2019 and kind of has made bounced around. It's coming out. I think it's Paramount Plus now.
Yeah.
It was just a straight up network thing when it first started. I think maybe ABC. And now so it's so I started watching this series. It's good in terms of Mike Coulter and Katya Herbers, and so it's really sort of interesting cat. He's just like at the beginning of it anyway, he's sort of what do they call a priest who's not quite a priest yet, an initiate or something like that, or maybe those are
initiate, I guess.
And he's working on this whole thing, and she's a psychologist, and Asif is this skeptic tech guy, and there's weird things going on, and he's called in to see whether it might be something actually malevolent, and she's there to sort of psychologically break all of that down and all this kind of stuff, and we sort of work our way through the series. It's really, really, really good. But this third season that we're into, what I always liked about it is that it didn't allow any one of these positions to ever get much of a grip on things. Is it a curse? Is it the devil? If the very moment you would say, "Oh yes, it's definitely a curse. It's definitely the devil," they would pull the rug out from under it. And then the moment you were like, "Oh no, it's just mind game," then they would. And that's very, very, very clever. It's less clever now, but back. What are we looking at in that set right there? Season
2.
Season 2. So 1 and 2, I would definitely stick with it. It's kind of neat. I kind of dig this show.
So, Tim, Billions, season 6.
Yeah.
So Damian Lewis is checked out. He's like, it's the same story for 5 seasons. I can only sustain that repetition for 5 seasons. So good luck, Corey. And Corey Stoll steps in, and it's kind of starting all over again. Does it work though, or does it feel like we're just rebooting the show after 5 seasons with a different actor?
I feel like I'm in the same. Well, I like Corey a lot, but
I love Corey.
But I feel like I'm in the same well. And we're just going to do this all again. But I feel that way about a whole bunch of things. I kind of put this in the same category with Succession.
Which everyone else loves. Why do I not love that show?
Well, I'm with you. I appreciated it, and then I'm like, okay, but I get it. Messed up family. They're going to keep doing this thing, but then again, you and I are of the Dallas and Dynasty and Falcon Crest era. So this is not.
See, I think something happened with The Wire when it was permitted, when it was considered socially acceptable for people to say The Wire is the greatest television series that has ever been made, and I was going, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, but I'm sorry, but like Hill Street Blues, and China Beach, and Star Trek, and Bonanza, and I Love Lucy, and
even if we just stay in the pocket of that genre, I can name 5.
Homicide, Life on the Street. I mean, I can go pretty deep on a lot of shows that do the same thing. I mean, it's fine, it's got its thing, but like the greatest of all time, come on,
not even in that genre is it the greatest of all time.
Whatever. Dude, I need you to explain to me. I'm not judging it. I'm not. But the 11th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Now, talking about billions running thin after 5 years, I get it. But Larry David already gave us, 14, 15 seasons of Seinfeld with Jerry basically as his surrogate. All of his idiosyncratic eccentricities and his shtick and the on and on and on and on. And then in addition to him using Jerry as his surrogate, now he uses himself as his surrogate for 11 seasons of this. I don't know how much more of Larry David's anxieties I can take.
Well, I tapped on this. And how do we get to a look? I could have swore Curb started in 2000, the original Curb Your Enthusiasm. I thought, how do we get to 11? Did it stop here? Anyway, it's there you go, man. I tapped out a while ago. Because again, it's kind of, I don't know. It's okay. I get it. It's interesting. It's fun. They have, John Hamm, I think, is running around, these later seasons. So there's always that thing that's going on, who's going to pop up, who's going to show up.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, Ted Danson and, Richard Lewis, I get it. It's fine. But
11.
It's just, you gotta go somewhere. I forget it. So speaking of Succession, let's just pull Succession right out of the thing here and talk about.
Well, like I said, it's the same thing there for me, and I get it. People really love this show.
And good for HBO. I mean, this is the 3rd season here. Television's best show. It's right there on the cover of this thing. IndieWire, television's best show. Okay, look, I love Brian Cox. I think Brian Cox absolutely is a treasure. He's a treasure to Hollywood, to Scotland, to every association he can come up with. And I love Jeremy Strong. I think he is absolutely great too. But is it that great of a show? Or is it just billions on a it's just another thing of billions where we're kind of letting actors do the same thing season after season?
It's definitely that for me. And again, appreciated it in 2018 when it sort of in. But after that, I'm like, been there. And again, dude, I go way back. None of these. I love Brian. He's no J.R. Ewing.
Yeah.
If you go back that deep,
True.
Love him. He's Joan Collins, Alexis Carrington.
Yeah.
So but a good show, fun show. This show is it's tongue in cheek. But I don't know. Yeah. But if in the vein of the business, I'm like, this is one joke, and it's stopped being funny a while ago.
How do we feel about The Sinner? This is Jessica Biel produced this, and it's completed its run. It's a complete season now on Blu-ray. Bill Pullman, kind of being basically True Detective with Bill Pullman, is kind of how I see it. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, it's an anthology series. So it's sort of like bit by bit. Some of it I thought was pretty damn good. Love Bill Pullman though.
Yeah.
Can't get enough of Bill Pullman. He's sort of grown into this sort of piece, sort of story. And there's some good performances sort of like down the line in this, including Jessica, Harry Coon, Francis Fisher, a lot of folks all over this thing.
Because of my wife, I can't quite take Bill Pullman as seriously as I would like to. Now, fair enough. And it's not, she worked on Lost Highway, which I think he's terrific in, by the way. David Lynch's Lost Highway. But it's because my wife is also a huge fan of Ruthless People.
Oh.
And he has that great line in there where he says, can't wait for us to get to Haiti. Tahiti, you idiot! It's greatest line. Anyway, when I was mentioning the History Channel stuff, sorry, I forgot one. History's Greatest Mysteries, season 1 and 2. So Lawrence Fishburne has also learned the same lesson, which is that he can have a good time just hosting shows. He's not producer of this one; he's just a host and narrator of History's Greatest Mysteries. It's not Great Escapes, but a lot of really fun stuff in here too. Buried treasure and various things and why it's what it basically is. It's Leonard Nimoy doing In Search of.
Oh yes,
except that's what it is. It's Leonard Nimoy doing In Search of, except we now get Lawrence Fishburne with that velvety voice of his instead of Leonard Nimoy's very officious and velvety voice. But what's interesting is that they really bring in the experts here. They don't do the sensational thing. And
they're not doing recreations like the Morgan Freeman.
No, they're not saying like it was ghosts. Yeah. Here's a recreation of what the poltergeist looked like when it pulled the man's pants down. No, there's none of that stuff. None of that.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we have. Real quickly, there's a Hallmark Channel original movie here. It's on Blu-ray, The Wedding Veil. I'm not going to say that this is anything great or anything. It's just one of those Hallmark things. But there's a place for this, and people like that, and it's inoffensive and schmaltzy, and it was made by Canadians, and you got they need to catch a break now and again. Lacey Chabert stars. I've always been a fan of Lacey Chabert. She's aged very well. She's continuing to work. She was great as a kid actress. She's now an adult. She brings a certain warmth to her performances and to the movies. And look, this is about this is kind of a mystical thing. The story is about an antique and how it impacts the love lives, or perhaps the love life of one person, a mystical antique of these college friends who are, looking for love. And The Wedding Veil the title tells you exactly what's going to happen. The only question is to whom and how. And, there's a little bit of a detective angle to it that gets a little cheesy, but it's cute and sweet and it has a place. Tim, anything else popping out at you here?
Are we Young Rock? Have you watched any Young Rock? So you got
I have
3 actors. I guess it's 3 if you don't count the actual Rock. It would be 5. Because 1984, 1987, and 1996 rocks.
So I'm gonna say Young Rock is. I was a little skeptical at first. I thought, okay, this is just taking vanity to a whole new level. Like, dude, you're not wealthy enough. But you know what? It's really fun and funny. Yeah, it's really clever. It really is. I'm like, okay, I give you props. You spit gold. You really do.
Well, for one thing, he is extremely self-deprecating.
That's the key, right? That's the
Rock,
key.
All these, and he's in these actors who play him in these various different years. They just nail him.
Yeah,
because they're all doing him. Doing the old Rock, and they just nail him, and he lets them make him look goofy.
Yeah,
because he's not full of himself. He's not. He has no hubris. Only in the ring does he play that role, but every place else in his life, he's just this goofball.
And this is why I'm like, you know what? It's original. Yes, it's about him. But it's original, and I would rather have this than that reboot. No offense to Don Cheadle, but I'd rather have this than the reboot of the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this goes somewhere I haven't been before.
Exactly. As opposed to, it's funny, I feel the exact same way about that new Wonder Years, which, there it is. But I'm like, you know what? I've seen the show already. And just because you take it and you dip it in chocolate doesn't mean I haven't seen this show already. You can't trick me, man. Whereas this show here, this is a kid that I would have known in 1984, 87. Yeah. And then he became this guy. And I like that. It's just really kind of cool.
So The Good Fight, I have not overly followed, but this is a pretty great show.
The Kings again, Michelle and Robert.
It's really well. I was wondering whatever happened to Wayne Brady. Well, this is what happened to Wayne Brady. the guy keeps working. He really does, and he's terrific. He's just, so I mean, really interesting cast. Christine Baranski and Wanda Sykes and Mandy Patinkin, and there's a really, really sharp cast put together here, and I think it's also a very, very well written show. I think it's a very well written show. So it centers around a law firm. Audrey McDonald is the one of the big kingpins, one of the big legal kingpins here. It's it's a legal show. It's definitely a law show. I like the fact that it's a primarily black law firm, but that's not what that's not what it's about. No. It doesn't sort of wear that too heavily on its sleeve. It just gives you really great. It's a great legal show, sharp legal show. Also from Paramount and CBS is The Great with Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. Took me a minute to kind of figure out what was going on here. Did you watch any of this?
Oh yeah. A little bit of history there. They mess with the history.
Yeah, they mess with Catherine the Great, the Tsarina of Russia, the famous Tsarina of Russia that Putin thinks he's a reincarnate. Oh no, that's Peter the Great. Never mind. I'd rather he be Catherine the Great. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So but anyway, they dabble around with the history a little bit, but it is kind of interesting, particularly when they get into some of the brutal stuff, because there was a war, I think they had war with the Swedes or the Swiss or whoever it was.
One of them.
And it was just, and it's extremely, because we forget about that era, and it was a brutal era. With all of these kingdoms, most of whom were literally related. A lot of these people were actually related, second and third, and if not first cousins. Yep. Yet here we are still, and and that all carries over into stuff that happens during World War I, which carries over to stuff that happens during World War II, which kind of is carrying over into stuff that's going on right now. Yeah, if you really follow the thread, it really, really does.
It absolutely does. Some fun deleted scenes and bloopers here as well. But on balance, Elle Fanning, not exactly my casting for Catherine the Great, but, I like the HBO thing with Helen Mirren. That's much more my speed. But this is season 2, and it makes it sexy. It makes it interesting. It's kind of taking a Tudors approach to it, but why not? Why not do that? Ray Donovan, the movie, I don't know, Tim. I kind of, the show worked for me. I didn't need the movie, but you tell me.
Well, same. Here, didn't need that movie, but it's okay. I wasn't that big of a fan of Ray Donovan, in the first place. Liked it, prefer something. Oh, I don't know. What was the other show that was set in LA and maybe Bosch? Yeah. There's more of a Bosch fan than a Ray Donovan fan, but some people love their Ray Donovan.
Well, yeah, I'll
Up All Night. What was that, a sitcom? With Christina Applegate and Will Arnett and Myra. That was kind of funny. That series.
Totally forgot about that. It's on Blu-ray. That's on Blu-ray.
I don't know how long it lasted, but it was kind of funny. I kind of dug that series. But I'm a big Will Arnett fan. He always cracks me up in Myra.
Yeah, Will Arnett. Where wasn't he? Isn't he a game show host now? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, everybody's a game show host now.
Everybody, I know it's good. It's good work, right? You don't have to learn. You just have to work with the public. No, this is This is an okay show. It's it's about parenting, and I've got my own feelings about that. Having gone now through 9 years of it, it's not something I necessarily. I guess it can be cathartic on a certain level, but this is Lorne Michaels trying to get one more show under his belt. So anyway, that's the complete series. It didn't last long, but that's out there from Mill Creek on Blu-ray. The Mallorca. Let's mention the Mallorca really quickly. This is a BBC show. Got a couple of BBC shows here. Well, actually, let's knock out the BBC shows because they're all kind of a piece. The Mallorca Files, Series 2. This is if you didn't see the first series, it's okay. You can dip in with this one. So it's a detective show, as you might imagine, set in Mallorca. And that's why you're watching it, because it's great British detective stuff, just against an absolutely beautiful exotic background. Mallorca is freaking gorgeous, and there's some interesting Spanish history that sort of plays a part in this, but otherwise it's a couple of beautiful people in Mallorca solving crimes.
Yeah, it's a British detective and a German detective, solving crimes on the Spanish island of Mallorca. And I'm like, you know what? Tim, you just wanted to shoot Mallorca. That's fine. Knock yourself out.
They didn't. It doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to be pretty and beautiful.
And actually, that's exactly what it is. It's very, very pretty. Not a single storyline makes any sense whatsoever. But who cares?
Well, what does make sense is time, which is really, really great. Sean Bean has just aged into this part beautifully. He stars along with Stephen Graham. And man, Sean Bean is really aged. I mean, but beautifully, right? Like he's got lines in his face, and it's really, really intense. No, this is
works for this great beautifully.
Yeah, this is all about guilt and redemption and penance. And stuff that you don't normally get in cop shows or crime shows, and it's pretty intense. It's about a guy who I don't want to give it away here. He's responsible for a horrible thing happening, and the guilt is absolutely tearing him apart, and the residual impact of that comes back to haunt him. I'm trying to be as circuitous as I can. And the result of this, we're inside a prison. How am I doing?
Well, somebody knows. Somebody knows. And somebody
knows the truth.
It's one of those things. I got a secret. It's a horrible secret, and somebody knows the truth, and that's the worst possible person who could know the truth.
And about every 15 minutes, it shifts. Yeah. And the sands of who's trustworthy and who isn't. It's very, very sharp. So you're watching it basically just to watch these two actors just knock it out of the park. McDonald and Dodds. It's more detective work. It's solving crimes. But it's an interesting duo, and you're watching it basically for a couple of really, really fine actors. This is BBC and ITV Studios. ITV, of course, the studios responsible for Downton Abbey, who've made a killing on it. And I don't know what else to tell you. It's fun, sophisticated British detective work. With a couple of wonderful actors. And funny.
Yeah.
And then the first team is the last one here, talking about Will Arnett. This is Will Arnett trying to do what's the Jason Sudeikis soccer thing on Apple?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Okay. So there's kind of a Ted Lasso-y quality to this. And I haven't really bit into the Ted Lasso thing like a lot of people have, but he coaches soccer. I get it. I know people who just adore that show and they can't get enough of it.
I do like Ted Lasso. This I haven't seen, but it'd be interesting if it's in the sort of same space.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the same space. Basically, Will Arnett plays the. He's an American in a European world, and it all takes place around soccer. And it's funny, but it's wry funny. It's not like gut busting funny, and I think it's very clever. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can turn this thing into kind of an ongoing TV series. I think this was meant to only be a film, just a one-off film, but I think there are plans, or so I've heard, to possibly try to generate this into a series. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if they can do it. That stuff usually falls in its face, but it'd be interesting to see if they can. So it's called The First Team, and Will Arnett is very, very sharp in it. And one more here, the Canterville Ghost. I did not get all the way through this. I'll be honest. This is also BBC. Kind of funny, sort of like if you were going to do take Doctor Who sensibilities and and do a ghost story with a little bit of European historical background to it. It's based on the Oscar Wilde comedy, but it's very updated. It's not literally the Oscar Wilde. It's just kind of inspired by it. But it feels very Doctor Who-ish. And,
I thought it was hysterical. Shit cracked me up. I thoroughly. But I am about Doctor Who. So.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We got a few more TV things here, and then I want to hit the 4K, and that'll probably wrap us out. Nancy Drew season 3. Let me just kind of go through some of this.
Big fan of Nancy Drew.
It's a nice new
so
Nancy Drew,
surprising to me. Because what do we got? Season 2 there?
Season 3.
Season 3. Because I thought it was just going to be straight up like the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys is out there too, just a detective thing. But they went with the supernatural angle. There's a whole bunch of supernatural stuff going on, and I'm like, and it took me a minute to just sort of like let my standard Nancy Drew, because I'm an old school Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys kind of guy, and I just sort of like let it go, and they rolled with the supernatural thing, and I'm like, it's just CW. This is always going to be. There's no such thing as a show in the CW.
Yep.
That doesn't have something supernatural or superhuman or whatever going on. It's the nature of the network. So I got over myself, and now I kind of dig Nancy Drew.
I like it. I think it's a sharp new. I mean, Pamela Sue is my Nancy Drew.
Yeah,
me too. I think this is a great new start for the franchise.
Yeah, the redheaded kid is cute.
AMC Plus, no less. Original series, season 1 of Kin, another one of these family crime dramas, kind of like Animal Kingdom in some respects. And it's a family on it's a crime family on a revenge mission against an international cartel. It's sometimes, I almost say it sometimes verges on being brutal for the sake of being brutal. Takes place in Ireland.
Yeah.
And but you know what? It's also got a lot of really, really good stuff in it. I mean, it's doing that thing that we've been just criticizing Billions and Succession for doing, which is that it sort of contrives dramatic situations just so that actors can really, really act. But at the same time, they're really good actors. I mean, Charlie Cox and Karen Hines. What I question is this. Charlie Cox is amazing. But the word on the street is that Disney is going to reboot. I mean, first of all, he's back as Daredevil. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. So he's in MCU, he's back as Daredevil. He's already shown up in a Spider-Man movie, and they're talking about rebooting the Daredevil series, picking up from where it left off on Netflix. Because now all that's on Disney again. Now, that's a dream come true for me. But can Charlie Cox keep doing Kin and Daredevil? Can he do Kin in Ireland and still do Daredevil in New York? I mean, can he do both shows?
Well, he's top of the call sheet, and I imagine on both of those shows.
Yes.
So I imagine he's the guy that they will figure the schedule around. But now, this is an 8-episode situation. What was Daredevil on Netflix? Was that 8 episodes?
It was about 8. Yeah, it's about 8.
So that's 16 episodes. Of both shows, you spread those out apart, and you can possibly get it done if you don't beat yourself up too bad. And back in the day, that was in 30, 30.
Yeah.
And then not for a long time, 22 and 22.
I'm saying for those two productions though, that's a scheduling nightmare.
Yeah.
Because you got to schedule your other actors too. And now everybody is at the mercy of Mr. Cox.
Yeah. But that's why you want to get to the top of the call sheet.
It is indeed. Complete 5th season of Lucifer. I think you were a little bit more fond of this than I. I don't.
For a while,
I don't get it. Yeah. I mean, 5 seasons is way too many for this. I don't know. Whatever. This shows, kind of run its course. It's the same thing all the time. Constantine in the House of Mystery. More DC Showcase. Yeah, more Constantine. They're trying to. DC, I think DC can't figure out what to do with John Constantine because they had the movie with Keanu Reeves, which was fine, but they never got a sequel out of it.
No.
And then
the series, and then of course the same guy from the series showed up in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, and in the crossover episodes.
Yeah,
and then they've been trying to do a thing with him here in animation, which is fine. And now they're talking about bringing back into the movies. Tim, I'm going to share a secret with you. I don't think Constantine is that interesting.
Apparently not.
I don't think Constantine is a very interesting comics character. I just don't. He doesn't have, he doesn't have tights. He wears a trench coat. He's a little bit too angsty for me.
Yeah. He's very brooding. He's very brooding.
He's very brooding.
And I get tired of that real quick. So yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, if I need somebody to kind of like dip into the other world and raise hell in hell, all right, give me Hellboy.
Yeah.
At least Hellboy's like got a whole interesting with the horns and the saws him off and the whole thing. At least that's interesting to me. But Constantine, he wears a tie and I just, he's get a suit or something, dude. Anyway, I don't know. But this is a fairly interesting story, but it's still, it's got like the apocalypse war. He has to prevent it from happening. And there's a whole thing that they did. They're trying hard. I don't see it quite working. As long as we're in DC animation, let's also make mention of Teen Titans Go and the DC superhero girls Mayhem in the Multiverse. This is that extreme superhero girls wacky animation style that they've got. I guess for people who love Teen Titans Go and the DC superhero girls and that style of animation, they love this whole merging crossover multiversy thing. It's cute, but I am probably 40 years at a minimum too old to really enjoy this. So I'll leave that to those for whom this is a thing. Got two more TV things here. Let's talk about Bull first, season 5.
Yeah, season 5, man. Yeah.
It's kind of working. Season 5 seasons in. I guess, they're giving him an interesting personal life. They're doing things with the personal life, so it's not the same thing over and over and over. And they're bringing the pandemic into the court system. So, where at least it's not just courtroom procedural stuff week after week after week after week. So I feel like Bull is really trying to mix it up and find another dimension to what they did before. I feel like 5 seasons in and the show is still working. Your thoughts?
Well, Michael Weatherly is a very personable a guy. What was that show? He was in something for 15 seasons.
Yeah.
Before this, he's a very personable guy. It's sort of like an interesting sort of hook. He's not a lawyer. This is a kind of a procedural, really, right? Would you call this a procedural?
I'd call it courtroom procedural. Courtroom procedural is what I'd say.
But he's not a lawyer, which is what makes it interesting to me. He's a psychologist. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
And then the last one here is very interesting. I don't think I ever knew this even existed. A live television production from when would this have been? 1950 something, but The Diary of Anne Frank, which I never even knew that this existed, with Max von Sydow.
The one with Shelley Winters.
This is This is not the feature film.
Not the George Stevens. This is something else. Okay.
No, right. This is a television production. This is a David Susskind production for television.
Okay.
Of The Diary of Anne Frank with Max von Sydow, or Shudo, as you were supposed to pronounce it. Donald Pleasance, and Theodore Beichel.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea that this had ever even existed. And it's really, really fascinating. It looks, 1967. Aired in 1967. So, really quite interesting. They included the original commercials, so you get the complete feel with the commercial breaks and so forth. Not as good as the film, not as good as the feature film by any means, but very different. And adapted by James Lee in a very interesting way. And I really do feel like they did something that feels, the fact that it does, again, we're going to do another one of these analogies, but it has it does have that Dark Shadows kind of quality to it. But again, it feels very intimate, very very like you're watching a stage play, like you're sitting right front row. And it's very disturbing.
Well, this is adapted from the Albert Hackett stage play.
Yes.
From the middle 50s, which interestingly, I just happened to be reading here, opened at the Court Theater in 55. This particular play, the Court, I think it's the theater that they, like in the last week, renamed the James Earl Jones Theater.
Yeah.
That's the Court, right? If I'm not mistaken. So that's really, this is adapted from the play. So that actually makes sense, that it has that sort of stage play feel to it.
Let's talk about some 4Ks. We got a ton of them here, and Steelbooks galore. So let me talk about the Steelbooks first, because this is all stuff that has basically been released previously, and that will then dove us into our other Chris Pine things. So we have 4K Steelbooks for Bridge of the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia, the two David Lean classics, as well as Raiders of the Lost Ark and Hell or High Water. This is all stuff that's been released previously. Hell or High Water is a Best Buy exclusive. Raiders and Bridge. So here's the thing. Lawrence of Arabia previously released in 4K in that Columbia Classic set, that first Columbia Classic set. Same damn thing. Everything is exactly the same. Nothing is different. You're getting no benefit whatsoever other than the fact that you get to buy this as a Steelbook standalone and you don't have to get the other movies. But I would say that the other movies are worth getting. Bridge of the River Kwai, slightly different deal. This has a picture and graphics track on it, and it has a different an enhanced set of audio options, which I think do make it worth upgrading. This was previously released in a standalone 4K set, so a lot of people might not be happy with that. It's probably the picture and the the main audio track probably the same, but you might want to just double check and see what your system will support and reconfirm that you want the additional audio options. But visually, you're not getting anything else out of the movie. You're just getting that picture and graphics track, which some people might not care about. Raiders, basically the same thing. This is the previous set that included all of the Raiders films in 4K. All the same stuff. Nothing new here. It's Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, the same drill. Except you get it in a standalone Steelbook. And Hell or High Water is this is still a great film. I almost think this is worth upgrading. It's 2-disc, the 4K and the Blu-ray, like they usually do. It's got some cool extras on it. I don't believe, I have not been able to corroborate whether or not this is the extras here are exactly the same. I suspect they are. But nonetheless, it's a really nice Steelbook with a sleeve, with a slip cover. I don't know why you would do that, a Steelbook with a slip cover. Still pretty nice, Best Buy exclusive. It's kind of fancy. And that brings us to The Contractor, Chris Pine film. Tim, Contractor, why is this on 4K? Can you tell me?
Well, no, you tell me why it's on your Chris Pine Special Forces guy. So you tell me, why is this on 4K?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's not a very good film. I mean, basically, Chris Pine is it's the kind of film that Schwarzenegger or Stallone or Bruce Willis would have passed on in 1985. It would have gone on to some straight to video B movie guy. Basically, he's a Marine. He's a special forces guy, and they let him go because he's been taking painkiller drugs to be able to keep himself going because he has so many injuries and he's been beaten up so badly, and they don't want drug addicts on the thing. And he's just kind of hooked on the stuff to keep himself going. So he becomes a private contractor, and realizes at a certain point that he's the fall guy. He's not supposed to achieve the mission and come back. They're gonna take him out and let him take the fall. So he goes rogue. The rest. And he's got to come back and make him pay. The plot makes no sense whatsoever. It's completely contrived. But you are watching it basically just to watch some really, really good actors do some good work. And I gotta give it to Chris Pine. He's a solid actor. He pulls these things off. Ben Foster shows up in this. Ben Foster is very, very good, and it brings a lot of legitimacy. So yeah, I mean that's the deal. But that brings us now to Michael Bay's Ambulance, which a lot of people really, really thoroughly enjoyed. There, it had we saw like a Midland
not particularly big hit, but a lot of people thought it was fun. Look, I've seen this movie so many times. You know, what can I say? You know, I've seen this movie a whole bunch of times. And Michael Bay's style of filmmaking, and this is not a criticism, but it just hasn't changed at all in 25 years. He's making the exact same movie in the exact same way that he has been for 25 years. And I don't know, it's fine. But yeah, a lot of people liked it.
I mean, here, I'll say this. And if anybody hasn't followed this is just a kind of a straightforward thriller, hijacking of an ambulance. And Isaac Gonzalez is the paramedic who's on board and becomes hostage. It's a little bit like Speed, except with an ambulance. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yaya's great in this. He's absolutely terrific. Isaac Gonzalez is terrific. Jake Gyllenhaal is really good. Yeah, it feels familiar, but here's the thing. Even though I don't think this is a great film, I see what Bay is doing. I think he's trying to get back to some kind of serious filmmaking. I think he's trying to get level. And this is what he was able to get done. This is more in the vein of The Rock. Right, he's going back to that kind of filmmaking, because
even Con Air,
because that kind of stuff, because those films were a thing for a minute, and he's gone so far afield with the Transformers movies, and Bad Boys 3 was kind of like, where did that come from? And so I think he wants to get back to something a little bit more serious, but he can't do it in one pivot. So this is a step in that direction. We'll see what the next film is. But even though this wasn't entirely successful, and it's like his least successful film in years, I feel like, I don't know, he's at least trying to get back to the center.
Yeah, he's trying to split the difference. This is adaptation of whatever, Danish or whatever it is. I don't know what it was, but German.
Malignant is,
which was much better than it was given credit for. James Wan film. Yeah,
yes, a lot better. James Wan has not gotten his proper due as a director. I mean, he really does, because he's still kind of stuck to the Saw films. I think people aren't willing to let him sort of shed that reputation. But boy, he really, The Conjuring was so good, and he does the same thing here. I mean, this is his genre. This is totally his genre, and this feels a little bit like it's a throwback to those things like what was the Audrey Hepburn film?
In the Dark with Alan Arkin. Yeah,
Alan Arkin. Yeah, that one. That one. It feels like it's a little bit throwback to those kinds of Woman in Jeopardy films, a little bit. But I think it's really, really effective. I mean, it's basically a lady who has these, she's haunted by visions of murder, and then it starts to sort of become. Well, obviously, it wouldn't be a movie if the visions didn't sort of tie into something that's actually happening. Yeah. But I think the suspense and the scares and everything is very, very sharp. And the reason I would recommend the 4K is for the audio, frankly. The sound mix on this thing is tremendous, and it really, really, if you got a great system, it'll scare everybody in the house, even if they aren't looking at it.
Yeah, waking dreams are kind of creepy. I mean, we've all had those sort of waking dreams, nightmares, waking dreams, and that's what this is. And it's those
all right. So you and I are going to have a disagreement over the Northman. Go.
As I said, Shaka Zulu for white people is what it is. Which it's not a bad thing, relatively speaking, but that is what it is. Look, homie's abs in this movie. And if for folks who remember Shaka Zulu, and they should look up Shaka Zulu. What was homie's name? Who played Shaka?
Oh, he was great.
Oh my God, with that body, which was totally and completely insane. But mostly that movie wasn't about Shaka Zulu. It was about Edward Fox and Robert Powell and Trevor Howard and all those people in there, set against the backdrop of Shaka Zulu. This, though, I don't know. I don't blame a film for the things that people do with films. And there are strands of sort of white, this, that, or the other who've claimed this film and stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever with you goofballs. you fuck you with all your goofy shit. But it's a hell of a movie. Not remotely a historical account of anything that happened anywhere with any humans at all. It is not. It's just not. But that's okay.
I didn't like this movie at all. I just didn't. First of all, it allegedly cost like $90-some million. I don't know where that went.
But why?
I don't know where that went. It's like it's a bunch of like naked people in Iceland, bludgeoning each other with swords. I don't really know where the money went. I don't get it. It looks like it should have been about 20 million tops. So Alexander Skarsgård, bravo on the abs, bro. Totally, he totally killed it on the workout. But ultimately, it really is just a revenge story. It's Mad Max all over again. Yeah. It's name any of them. I mean, Gladiator all over again. It's just sort of that thing. And could we just Robert Eggers?
Conan.
So he wrote this. Yeah, it's very Conan-like. Robert Eggers wrote this with Sjón, who's some kind of big Scandinavian, Icelandic novelist, and that's his thing. And they adapted it from all of these old sagas, right? Like he did that with The Witch and The Lighthouse too. It went back to the source material, which is starting to feel like a crutch. Yeah. Everybody's talking like in the lingo and the jargon of 400, 500, 600 years ago. I don't care. Yeah. I honestly don't care how authentic that is, as long as am I interested? Here's my problem with this. This has like 19 different shaman and about 27 different dream sequences that have nothing to do with the movie. I just don't get it. Like there's a woman who's a witch and a shaman, and then there's Willem Dafoe shows up with like 3 teeth going, and then the thing will do the blah, and you do the who, and you jump into the hole, and there will be a prophecy that blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Just I really don't. I can't.
The last of these I really thoroughly enjoyed, at least in terms of movies. There's a lot of stuff on television. But you remember Antonio Banderas, the 13th Warrior.
The 13th Warrior. That is by, I say this to people all the time. If not for the genre aspect of that, and the fact that Antonio Banderas, who is Spanish, is playing an Arab who for some reason has hitched a ride with the Vikings while they're fighting monsters. Putting aside all of that silliness, that's a great Viking movie.
Yeah, which was, and that's because I think it was Crichton. It's John McTiernan film.
John McTiernan directed it. I think that's an unfairly maligned movie. People just didn't know what to make of it.
No, it was a good movie. Yeah, because I think we saw that movie in screening together back in 99, 98, 99, whenever we did William Wisher screenplay with it. Anyway, but that's the last one of the at that scale that I really sort of deeply appreciated.
For sure. Yeah. Let's see. We are at 139. You know what? Let's just hit a couple of the new movies that we didn't get to. Really, really fast. I want to put a shout out for Fortress Sniper's Eye, which is not a good movie, but it is one of Bruce Willis's last movies. Covered this sort of on radio, and this is a sequel to the previous Fortress movie that Bruce Willis was in. Look, it's forget about the plot. It's dumb, silly, straight to video stuff. Bruce Willis is not in much of this, but I'm glad Bruce Willis was able to make a few of these movies and bank some cash for his family and for himself amid this really horrible diagnosis of a very unusual dementia that is taking him out of his career. It's ending his career. Yeah, a little
early. Well, I don't think we ever talked about that situation, and I guess we won't go into it too deeply here. But I will say this: love me some Bruce Willis, and always have. And I think that he has handled this situation in exactly the way that I would. Yeah. I'd put together a team. I'd go make me a whole bunch of stupid ass money, and throw it at my people, and and go on about my business. I think so. I love that. I love that about him. So,
I agree.
Way to hold it down, Bruce.
I agree. And then we've got 3 other movies here. Morbius, Father Stew. So talk about Father Stew. Interesting thing.
Well, Rosalind Ross with Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson. I mean, Mark is playing these 2 characters, and Jackie Weaver. So it just follows the life of this guy, a boxer who becomes a priest, and inspires a whole bunch of people. It's one of those kind of movies. I thought it was cute. Actually, it's one of my.
Mark Wahlberg got right behind this. I mean, he wanted to make something uplifting. He is a practicing Catholic, and he wanted to do something that sort of gave back in a way that most movies don't. And he put himself out there on the line, and this thing has made some money. Did it make a ton of money? No. But it gets it out of that faith-based ghetto that those movies wind up in so often. And I tip my hat to it. It's a good little movie.
It's cute. It's cute. Funny. It's sweet. Yeah. I like it. Mark Wahlberg has been on sort of a, well, whatever. I enjoyed it.
Jared Leto and Morbius, they are trying their level best to expand this Spider-Man universe that they are allowed to expand in a very limited way under their agreement with Marvel over at Sony. Man, this is not the way to do it. Basically, it's a freaking werewolf vampire movie. That's all it is Jared Leto gets, bitten by bats and then he turns into a freaking vampire.
I think they thought they could latch on to that Venom train. Yeah. Because those two Venom films, sort of, and I think they thought that they could get it to sort of latch into that way. But no, this was just not, no.
Yeah, no, this is not. It's just a vampire movie. Yeah. It's all it is. And what's his face, the former Doctor Who, Matt Smith, is ridiculous. He's ridiculous here. I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. I don't know what they thought. I mean, it's a stupid script and it's a dumb idea.
They also been throwing a whole lot of this stuff at Jared Leto, man. I mean, like, look how many shots at these universes is he was a.
And could I just say, I mean, I watched the thing here, the visual effects featurette stuff. It's not impressive because it's all CG. It's so much more impressive when you go back to The Howling and American Werewolf in London and all of that real makeup effect stuff. That's where it really lives. They just cheat with the CG. It's a cheat.
I've been over it for years. You know me.
And lastly, you know what? If you don't know who T. West is, you should discover. T. West has been laboring under the radar as one of the great horror directors and suspense directors of kind of the low budget world for a long time. Guy makes so many movies and he just cranks them out and keeps getting money for them, and good on him. But I want him to get like a bigger budget at a certain point. X might be the movie that kind of pushes him over the edge. If you love these genre films, X is a good one to maybe discover T. West with if you haven't discovered him yet. And it does a thing that people like that Wes Craven and Tobe Hooper once did, which is it's a little bit self-reflexive in the sense that you've got they're making an adult movie in Texas, and
in 1979.
It's sort of going into that slasher film moment, right? And the old couple that owns the property, they have no idea what's going on, and then he turns the tables on you in the middle of this thing. And it's both horrific and funny, and it's so well done and it's so well played. It's got some featurettes on it, which are fine, but you're watching this just to really enjoy the fact that you have this director most of you have probably never heard of before, T. West. Yeah. He's been out there just cranking them out, but this is a good one to discover. And if you like it, go discover some of his other movies.
Good work here. And because it looks like it was made, it's set in 1979, but it looks like a movie made in 1979.
Which I love.
He had this very sort of particular lighting and so really, really good. Kid Cudi in this movie, playing the sort of porn star.
Yeah.
And Kid Cudi is absolutely hysterical in this movie, and a really, really great actor. Didn't expect that from him, but there you go. You never know who's all good, man. You never know who's going to be really good.
It's all good. All right, with that, Tim, we are done. Hope everybody has a great week, and we'll be back in about 2 weeks, and then it's going to be a little bit of a layoff. I'm going to be out of town. Are you? Do you have any summer plans?
No, gonna be rounding about. Went to see my mother. My mother's birthday back in May, so that's all good. Ticket prices are a little bit ridiculous. So if you didn't buy a ticket a while ago, flying is kind of bananas right now. You guys driving or flying?
We are flying, but we bought our tickets a while ago.
That's what you did. If you did that, it'll make sense. So it'll be interesting. And hopefully, we are about to try to take a look at delving off into some other business here in the media. So hopefully we'll be able to tell the folks A few weeks.
We got things in the works, so we're working on it. All right, perfect, everybody. Have a great summer.